doesn't love coming home to a new package on their doorstep? Today I got to come home to this awesome Comics for Fun and Profit shirt on mine, and you can too. If you go to comicsfunprofit.threadless.com, you can check out their cool merch and get a shirt just like me. That was comicsfunprofit.threadless.com. Join the club. It's where all the cool kids are.
It's time once again for our winter giveaway. This giveaway is very simple to enter. Be a patron. So the easiest way to enter is go to patreon.com/comicsfunprofit. Become a patron at any level at our Patreon site, and you can do it that way. You can also enter by going to Threadless and buying some merch and tagging us in a photo of you in said merch. So if you like one of our t-shirts or hats or whatever, and you go to comicsfunprofit.threadless.com and find all our merch and like some of it, buy it, wear it. You can either tag us in social with you wearing it, or send us a photo of you wearing it, and you're entered. So those are the two ways: be a patron and buy merch, and then you get entered in our winter giveaway, which is fun swag giveaways of photos and stickers and signed comics, just like our fall giveaway was. And we had 5 lucky winners win stuff in our fall giveaway. So we're hoping to have as many entrants this time that we can give away that many again. So be a patron, buy merch, enter the winter giveaway.
You like cheap comic books, right? Well, I'm Professor Allen, and I talk about cheap comic books on the Quarterbin podcast. In every episode, I'll dissect a single comic from my collection, as long as I paid no more than 25 cents for the issue. Forget about $4 new comics that you can read in 4 minutes, or crossover events that can cost $100 to collect. Join me in the Quarterbin, where even bad comics are a bargain, and good ones are a steal. The Quarterbin podcast is part of the Relatively Geeky Podcast Network. Visit us at relativelygeekypodcast.blogspot.com or search Relatively Geeky or Quarterbin Podcast in iTunes. I guarantee it'll be worth every penny.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing Bram Stoker winner and a very good friend of the podcast, James Aquilone. Now, he is here to promote his new series, the Omega 11. It's a Kickstarter. It's a 5-part miniseries. This campaign for the first issue that is titled The MERLIN Job. And when this interview is released, the campaign is live, and it will end on March 7th. Now, listeners, I'm going to let you know we were waiting for Zac Atkinson, the artist on this series, to join us. He's probably a little bit delayed, so if you hear me kind of go, "Ladies and gentlemen, here's Zac," so just to let you know that he may join us a little bit later in the interview. James, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's always great to be on the show with you, Jason. I think this is like 4th time?
Yes, it is. In like what, 2-3 years?
Has it been that long? Wow, okay. Yeah, we just did this, I think, a couple of months ago. No, I felt like we did.
No, we did. I know we did. We did 2 last year. We did one to kind of promote the Kolchak, the 50th anniversary graphic novel. We went over that. We to promote the Shakespeare Unleashed.
Mm.
And then you came back about like a month later and I know, listeners, you can't see this, but he promoted the Dead Detective Society anthology. Yeah. Oh, here's Zac. I'm going to admit Zac, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. While Zac is we're waiting for Zac to come on, I'm just going to go over some of Zac's past works and current works. Now, not Zac's, I'm sorry, James. Now, James has written the Dead Jack zombie detective novel series. Now, in the last 2 to 3 years, James has accomplished a lot in the in the last 2-3 years. He is the owner of Monstrous Books. That's a monster magazine comic. He was the editor on these amazing and successful Kickstarters anthologies: Kolchak, the Night Stalker 50th anniversary graphic novel, Classic Monsters Unleashed, Shakespeare Unleashed, the first volume of Dead Detective Society, and the monster comic magazine Monstrous. He has won a Bram Stoker Award, 2 Rondo Classic Horror Awards, and is a Scribe Award. James, I'm not being sarcastic. Did I miss any of the awards or anything?
No, that's fine.
Because I think it's great.
I forget too. Yeah.
It's so cool. And also too, James will have a new Dead Jack story in an upcoming issue of Weird Tales magazines that the title is Dead Jack and the Mystery of Room 216. So, James, I'm going to ask you, want to add anything else to that?
No, that's way enough.
Okay. All right. I'm going to see if Zach can. Zach, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Zach, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't worry, Zach, don't worry. So I'm Zach. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Zac Atkinson. He's the artist on the Omega 11 series. I'm just gonna go, Zach. I'm just gonna start jumping in. I'm just gonna go over some of your works you have worked on, Young. And this is what I've got from the press release. And please feel free to add anything. You've done Young Justice, Transformers. I know you've done a lot of covers for some of the DC comics.
Sure.
And you were the artist for Nancy A. Collins' story in the first Monstrous comic book magazine, and the story was called Monster Rally.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That was a great story. That was a great short story.
Thank you.
Great. Now, before I continue on, I just want to mention to the listeners, we, recently within the last week, now Nancy A. Collins, she's the writer of Sonia Blue, and she also did a 2-year run of the Swamp Thing back in the 90s. During that run, that's when the Swamp Thing, during her run, the Swamp Thing changed from a regular DC title to a Vertigo title. Nancy was hospitalized recently, and we just want to wish her a very speedy recovery. So Nancy, please, I hope, please get well soon. So now, James and Zach, I'm going to ask, did I miss anything? Do you guys want to add anything?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, man.
No, thanks, Zach. All right. Now, shout out before we really start diving in, I want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri at Superfan Promotions for asking us, Comics for Fun and Profit, to interview James and Zach. And Hannah, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. Zach and James, I'm going to ask, do you guys want to add anything to that?
Oh, she's been great.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, thank you. All right. James, I'm going to start off with you. Where can listeners follow you on social media?
Where can they follow me?
Yes.
I think the best thing to do is to go to monstrousbooks.com. That has all the links to all the social media and everything else.
Okay. And Zach, what about you?
Zacsart.com, ZACS art. And I'm just at Zac Atkinson at all the things like Instagram, Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Facebook. I'm on Facebook all the time. People can find me pretty easily, I think.
Okay. All right. We're just going to jump right. Well, actually, before we jump into the Kickstarter, Zach, I'm going to start up with you. How did you guys meet?
We just met last week, right?
Yeah. We've been chatting online for about couple years,
Uh-huh.
and I never even realized it till we did our first broadcast that we never really like talked face to face before.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I forgot how we
yeah,
like you hired me for a coloring job, right?
yeah. It was like my first graphic novel. I had
That's
gotten
right.
I gotten a deal with Action Lab,
Mm-hmm.
which didn't work out. So the comic got, but then I needed someone to color it. So I think it was one of those Facebook groups, and yeah, that's how I met Zach, and his stuff was amazing. So I was like, oh, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
thought like like those Facebook groups, who are you gonna find, and then
Yeah.
Zach had like amazing credits, and his work was really good. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right. So he did an amazing job coloring that comic, and that comic looked cool, but then it never happened. So then I just kept hiring from all my other jobs. So I think that was like 5 years ago.
Crazy.
And Zach, thank you very much for mentioning that you guys that literally you and James start to like really met just recently start to talk because I forgot that I need to mention that I got some of my information from the audio podcast Slice of Sci-Fi. Now that was dated on February 3rd. Listeners, if you guys get a chance, please check out that great interview. That was a fun interview that you guys did.
Thanks.
All right. Actually, I'm going to start off with you, Zach, because now we're going to talk about the Omega 11. And then James, please chime in anytime. Zach, what is the story about?
Oh, it's about a time traveler. Not unlike Doctor Who. He's a bit of a pastiche.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he runs into some problems, so he's got to pull off an epic heist,
Mm-hmm.
and so he goes around time and recruits all the best thieves from legend
Mm-hmm.
to pull off this epic heist. That's kind of the overview of the what the whole series is going to be about. The
Mm-hmm.
first issue is going to be kind of centered on Camelot and him and Artful Dodger, which is sort of his short round
Mm-hmm.
to his Indiana Jones.
Uh-huh.
Although they're very much not uh, as uh, as impressive, I guess, as it. Well, he's not as impressive as Indiana Jones, maybe, or Doctor Who, but he's
Mm-hmm.
he's he's impressive in his own right. But
Mm-hmm.
and Artful Dodger's not quite short round. He's more of a uh, less martial arts and more artillery and
Oh,
Yeah.
and and stealing.
mm-hmm. Now, James, I'm going to ask, how did you get involved with this?
Well, this was initially Zach's idea. So Zach came to me with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he'd been thinking about it for years, and he had tons of illustrations for the characters and the ships. So he's been toying with his idea of Dr. Omega doing this heist and having all these characters already. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what he just needed someone to kind of put it together and make sense of like of a story
Mm-hmm.
and a plot. I think it was just
Yeah,
basically like Zach just kept adding more and more characters. Like, what do we do this? When you do this character, that character, and I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
well, kind of, well, how do they fit into the story and that type of thing? So I think that's what he was
yeah,
looking for me to come in and try to
yeah,
do.
yeah. I didn't have anything cohesive. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of ideas on top of ideas,
No,
and
yeah.
really, this first issue is basically just James taking the ideas and kind of just parsed it like way down to where it's an understandable beginning for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Artful Dodger was like his idea to Adam, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like I wasn't really thinking about that, and now he's like my favorite character. So
That is so cool. Um, James, I'm going to start off with you. What now, James, like you said, Zach had all these ideas. When he presented to you, you you start to try to you molded a story around this. What inspired you guys to create this story? Like, was there inspirations from books or movies?
Well, I could tell you, I'm a big Alan Moore and Warren Ellis fan.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was, I'm sure, definitely in there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of seems like the obvious thing, but really, what I've been kind of telling people is like Planetary was like probably what really gave me the impression of doing old, like classic pulp
Mm-hmm.
characters. Because Warren Ellis would take these characters and just kind of make like a pastiche of them. That's kind of
Yes.
like what he was really doing. And he did it for like Superman and Batman, but in Planetary, he's going back and doing it for like Doc Savage and the Shadow and
Mm-hmm.
Tarzan. And I really wanted to do that. I wanted to do like a Justice League of like Doc Savage, Shadow,
Mm-hmm.
and Tarzan, and like Sherlock Holmes or Zorro and all these characters. And like the more I look into it, I was like, okay, Doc Savage and Shadow and all these guys aren't public domain.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at what's public domain that you can actually use. And that
Yes.
was kind of like Tarzan, sorta, kinda, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And Zora is sorta, kinda, maybe. Sherlock definitely is, and all these other things. And then the idea of how to bring them together. And then I kind of stumbled across Dr. Omega, and he was
Mm-hmm.
just going from that. People think, not
Mm-hmm.
saying he really was, but people think he was the inspiration for Doctor Who. He
Mm-hmm.
looks just like William Hartnell, the first Doctor Who,
Oh, okay.
like the way they drew him back in the day, like and but he wasn't exactly. But I was like, okay, well, we have our public domain Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who can go back through time and collect all these, because all these characters are like, hundreds of years apart sometimes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of that's kind of a how. And
Mm-hmm.
then the why kind of turned into a heist.
Mm-hmm.
And James sort of had the idea of just making them all thieves. Like I was just going to pick like every cool person I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
So making them all thieves and doing the heist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where the Ocean's 11 thing kind of came in. And it's like, okay, that all kind of makes sense and is a little bit more of original idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. James, I'm going to ask you, so how did you come up with the heist idea, and you want to include the Artful Dodger? Where did that come from?
I guess the Artful Dodger came from just like I was thinking of thieves, and I guess like I'm the guy who did the Shakespeare Unleashed, so I'm always thinking like literary stuff. So that
Yeah.
I'm just not what you would consider. He's not in the the pulp world. So so that's sometimes where my mind goes. So I thought the Artful Dodger would be really cool to use here. So yeah, I mean we were thinking like along the line of thieves, and then actually there are tons of like
Yeah.
domain thieves.
Uh-huh.
Like most famous characters are thieves, like Aladdin's a thief.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, technically you could say like Indiana Jones is a thief
Yeah.
too. He's raiding those
Yeah, he's a bit of a Tomb
Uh,
Raider.
a lot of those characters, were thieves. So I was like, oh, that works.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Hood is a
Yeah.
thief. Bunch of thieves. So I was like, okay, that really works. That falls in line with what we're doing, and Scarlet Pimpernel too. So they were always like either they're a thief or they're like they're pulling off some
Rogue.
kind of like rogue like mission
Yeah.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm sure we'll throw in some characters who aren't technically thieves. We'll figure out some way of getting them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough because we want to talk about these characters, but we can't give it away
Yeah,
either.
because
So a lot of these characters won't show up until later in the series too. So
okay.
because the first issue was really them in Camelot, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of ease into it. So it really is this epic story because we're really starting a little earlier. before they get to the 11 too. So so I don't want to like spoil it where we're
Yes.
getting, but I guess you could figure where we would go, if we're talking these public domain thieves.
Hmm.
There'll be some other surprises too, because I guess we could talk about this, but a lot of the characters will be kind of like hybrids, like they'll be like two characters in
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have like, we call it the Omniverse. So we're
Hmm.
not calling it multiverses, so we don't get sued. But basically it's like the worlds are melding into to each other, and then you'll see characters who are like like two characters in one type of thing, you know. So that should be interesting, how we do
Yeah.
that. But yeah,
Yeah.
but we'll see more of that probably more in like the second issue, third issue, where we get the other characters start coming in.
Yes.
But this issue is pretty cool in that, see, again, it's hard to talk about because
Yeah.
we be giving it away. But but what happens in issue one is basically then leads into this whole chain of events that where things
Hmm.
recently go crazy.
Hmm. Um, I know we can't spoil anything, and it's good. And I know you guys. I think one thing I love about what you said, James, is that it's the omniverse where you're going to start seeing some of these characters. Like we go, oh, their personality reminds me of this literature character, but also this other literature. But I love it how you guys are going to merge them together. I'm looking forward to reading that. That's going to be great. Um, Zach, I'm going to start with you because of course, one of the characters is Dr. Omega. Um, and James, you chime in at any time because when I heard about the Kickstarter, I kept thinking, oh, Dr. Omega must be this new character you guys created and stuff. But actually, no, it's not, right? So Zach, I'm going to start off with you, right? Because Dr. Omega is basically first appeared, I think, in like in French literature back in
Yeah.
1906. So
Mhm.
how did you hear about Dr. Omega?
God, I don't know. I think I was just looking for public domain characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of stumbled across them. I mean, people have like adapted them
Yes.
like over time, so it's like he's sort of known. And I read an article about something about like Doctor Who and
Mm-hmm.
the connections there. We are just kind of riffing on it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like particularly a close adaptation. I don't even know if we're making him French. Like
That's fine. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty much our own character.
yeah.
We took the name and the basic uh, just elements of the story, like his ship is a Cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
It runs on repulsite, and that's one of the things he's looking for is repulsite,
Mm-hmm.
so he can keep maintenance on the ship and keep fixing the ship, and
Mm-hmm.
things go down where he really has to find the stuff to really travel through time and
Mm-hmm.
fix some things.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just kind of taking the bare bones
Mm-hmm.
basic qualities of the character. His ship could bend time and space, but
Mm-hmm.
his I don't know if there was even really a lot of stories
No, yeah.
of his original thing. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it was just him going to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of adding a lot to him.
No, but that's good. James, off the cuff question. Before Zach approached you with, his ideas, have you ever heard of Dr. Omega?
No, I'd never heard of him. So,
Mhm.
but it sounds like a character that you should know. It sounds like a character that was well known, like
Yeah.
Omega, right? So
Hmm.
it sounds familiar, but no, I'd never heard of him, and I don't know, from talking to other people, like a lot of people weren't familiar with him, and I think that it was written in French in like
Yes.
1906, but I think it was only translated into English like a few years ago. So I don't think
Oh,
so that's why I don't think anyone was aware of it unless
yeah.
you were like a super like Doctor Who fan or something. So it wasn't like this well-known book.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started doing like the Dr. Omega stories like just maybe like within the last like 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think too many people did know about this character
Mm-hmm.
or so I don't feel too bad about that. So.
Um, James, I'm gonna ask you this question. You know, actually no, sorry, let me go back a little bit. Yeah, actually, James, I'm gonna ask you this question. Will readers see one or two of your familiar characters in this series popping up? And if you say
Hmm.
no, that's fine. Or you say you can't tell, that's fine too.
I think we're gonna see some of the characters
Hmm.
later on. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I was like I was talking to you before. I was saying that there's gonna be more big news coming in a few months,
Uh-huh.
so we might have licenses for other characters that
Okay.
are well known. So
Yeah.
they might show up too. Uh,
Hmm.
but I think you'll definitely see even if it's just like a cameo thing. I think we'll see a lot of other characters in there. But yeah,
I'm
that'd be
ho-
fun to play with other
you
characters.
I would
Anyway.
love to well, we can say this, James, and I know you guys can't do it because but it would be funny to see a some type of news reporter with a straw little hat and used car salesman just
Hmm.
popping up in a panel or two, you know?
We might see that.
um let's see. Um I like the idea that that this is going to be 5 issues and um what I like about this is that it's nice because you guys already have your story already. You guys already have your story, but I love it how you guys are going to have this in 5 issues, and and I can't wait because you know why? I love because it's going to build the anticipation for the next issue. That's the thing I love about this. This is great, you know. Um, Now for this, I'm going to start talking about the campaign. Um, Zach, I'm going to start off with you, and James, jump in. Please feel free to jump in. May I ask what are some of the tiers in the Kickstarter campaign?
Well, James is definitely better at answering this question than me, but we're going to have 3 or 4 variants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're going to have T-shirts, stickers,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm going to be offering commissions through the
Nice.
campaign as well,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of sketch covers, and then
Mm-hmm.
just general like 9x12 commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, James, this guy who did the cover of what was it? The cover of Monstrous. Was he donating the cover for his Monstrous
Oh yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah. Russ Braun's Morlock cover is gonna we're gonna have the original art for that.
Yeah, original art for that. And then I think James is going to add some of his comics too.
Yeah, I think we're gonna add like a lot of the monster stuff from before. So we'll probably have
Mm-hmm.
Soul Check stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Dead Detective Society and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're gonna do like a Dr. Omega direct trading card set,
Oh
with,
yeah, yeah.
and
Oh,
then
that'd be pretty
include
cool.
in each one like a sketch card.
Yeah.
So like yeah, Zach will draw something as the fifth card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's basically it. I don't want to go too crazy. So, sometimes the campaigns have too many rewards and it gets confusing.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's probably about what we would have. So basically, like the covers and then like a lot of original
Mm-hmm.
art, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have another issue of Monstrous will be like in one of the other main rewards. So every campaign I try to fund another issue
Mhm.
of the magazine.
And that's a perfect segue, James, because now please correct me if I'm wrong, because when I saw the press release, um because I think, is it Monstrous issue 3 that you guys are gonna be featured in this Kickstarter campaign? Is it number 3 or number 2?
Number two, you
Oh,
see that
okay.
the thing was that we're trying to get distribution with Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
They want a bunch of issues. So what I was thinking of doing is taking well we did with Shakespeare Unleashed we had done a mini comic with it, which is basically was the same format as Monstrous.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm probably gonna do then if we get distribution with Diamond is then to turn that Shakespeare Unleashed comic into an issue of Monstrous.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so
Yes.
I'll have three issues.
Yes.
Um, I was thinking of making the 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 Morlock issue three and then making Shakespeare two,
Mm-hmm.
but then I don't want to screw up the numbering. So if we do Shakespeare, I think I'll just make that issue zero
Okay, yeah.
that out. So then we'd have the three issues with those three. So I mean, yeah, Shakespeare was basically I was kind of like playing around with that format.
Yeah.
And I said, this is cool. So why don't I just make this a magazine anyway? So it basically is an issue of Monstrous. Because it
Mm-hmm.
was 4 pages. We had about 20 pages of comics. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we're striving for with Monstrous is to make it at least like a 20 pages of comic book art. And then we have like a short story and
Yes.
an article. So in this issue, it'll be a time travel theme.
Mm-hmm.
One of the stories
Yeah.
then will be a
Yeah.
more story and which will be about 20 pages. Well, so I'm just going to do the one story, make it long, called Rise of the Morlocks, where the Morlocks find the time machine, and then travel back to like 1970s New York, and then they set
Mm-hmm.
up underneath the New York City subway.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have that, and J.K. Woodward will be doing the art for that. And then I'm going to do a reprint of H.G. Wells. It's his first time travel story.
Uh-huh.
Before the time machine, he had done a short story that was kind of playing around with the same ideas.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think it's called like I forget, it's like something like the Chronic Argonauts or something weird.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll reprint that, and then we'll have some original short stories as well. So we're taking submissions for that. So after the campaign, people can submit flash fiction
Mm-hmm.
uh, and an article, and then we'll if we could fit it in, we'll probably have if it's cool if anyone has like a comic 4 pages and less,
Mm-hmm.
maybe throw that into.
Now, listeners, you know, I've got Monstrous, the first issue. I love it because it's like James has described it. There's it's mixed in with comic book stories, short stories, and they've reprinted in the first issue, The Man Who Walked on Air by Michael Avalone.
Yeah.
That's David's father, writer of
Mhm.
David
Yeah.
Avalone, yes. And it's so I think the thing I love about James is that you guys are you and Zach are bringing back like almost for like a forgotten character like Dr. Omega. I mean, we're talking this character, in 1906. And James, I know you said that, that they brought this character, they was like recently translated and they probably did some other stories. And Zach, I think you said that I think they did comics too, but the thing is, but you guys are also pushing it a little bit more forward too, introducing it to new audience because if not, these characters would be lost in time. And James, I love it how you said that in Monstrous too, you guys are going to reprint an H.G. Wells original short story before he did the Time Machine. Because
Mhm.
again, it's one of these stories that would have been literally lost forever unless someone buys because one of those H.G. Wells compilations, it's not going to be widely known to the public.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't think this short story is that well known.
yeah. Oh, but this is so cool. I'm glad that you guys are doing this. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna start slowly wrapping things up. Actually, James, before I start wrapping things up, I still want to talk about the campaign. For your monstrous number 2, you've already mentioned you're gonna have the H.G. Wells short story. You already got you're gonna write one of the comics with J.K. Woodward. Do you have any other writers or artists lined up for that issue, the monstrous issue?
No, not yet. We're going to take submissions. So if
Okay.
anyone wants, monstrousbooks.com
Mm-hmm.
will or the rest of the content from people out there
Mm-hmm.
submit. Because we already got like the 20 pages of comics, so we already
Mm-hmm.
and then so we have already more than half of it. So we're gonna fit like a flash fiction
Mm-hmm.
short story up to 1,500 words.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for an article about something to do with time travel.
Oh, that's gonna be pretty
And,
cool. Mm-hmm.
and sometimes somebody will just send me some cool stuff. It'll be last time with Montrose at the last minute, right before I was about to print. Somebody sent me like a 4-page comic, which was really cool,
Oh,
and we
that's
threw that in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It was called The Southern Tale. It was just a really cool little comic. So sometimes I don't even know what the hell's going to be in it until
Mm-hmm.
I must go to the printer and someone says, "Oh, that's cool." But you always find something here at the last minute. So I don't really know sometimes what's going to happen with it. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's just like, oh, you find some cool stuff here and there, and then there's usually always some kind of surprises. And it's always bigger than I expect too. So who knows? It might be 60 pages and a ton of other stuff before we're done with it. So that's what's fun with doing that because it's really kind of like off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you kind of like not always planning this what's going to happen, but it turns out pretty well. And I think the last issue was pretty cool, and I think this issue is now we're kind of like more like forming, the format for it. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have a theme for the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Kind of most of the stuff was kind of like classic monster stuff, but then we had some
Yes.
fantasy stuff. But I think we'll probably going forward it'll be more themed like to kind of complement whatever project we're doing. That it's going to be
Yeah.
whatever Kickstarter campaign it's in, we'll try to do something that complements it well.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Zach, are there any other members of the creative team that you guys, and James, feel free to jump in, that you guys want to give shout outs to?
My
Mhm.
buddy Jeremiah Lambert helps a lot. He kind of helps edit the art, and he does
Mm-hmm.
the lettering, and yeah, he's doing the lettering for the book, and helped me a little bit with the logo,
Oh,
and
okay.
just overall, I rely on his OCD to get the pages right and everything.
Mm-hmm. James, what about you? You want to give out shout outs to anyone else?
Yeah, we'll have variant covers from Dave Acosta, who
Mm-hmm.
does David Avalone, the Elvira, Missions of the Dark. We'll have another variant from J.K. Woodward.
Mm-hmm.
The cover for Monstrous is from Russ Braun. Um, and I think so far that's it as far as
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we're working with. So it is a much smaller than when I'm doing these anthologies and I have to remember like 25 people's names.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
not, it's just really me and Zach and then a few other people who are helping us out.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I'm like I don't even remember who's in this book, and then I mix them up with other anthologies I'm in. So this is a little bit easier.
Um, James, I'm gonna start off with you, and Zach, please chime in. Let's say if some people miss this campaign, let's say they hear this interview and I'm not being sarcastic, but like they hear about this interview in September of this year, and they go, oh shoot, man, this sounds like a great, I want to get the first issue, or even the Monstrous magazine, you know, is there a website they can go to, or can they pre-order stuff? You know.
Yeah, I mean, basically go to Monstrous Books. If it's available, it'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll offer past issues and future campaigns too.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, I'm going to start off with you. I'm slowly wrapping this up. So, Zach, what was the most fun or exciting thing that you love working on this series? I know you guys are bringing out the first issue, but you know.
I haven't really published anything that was mine.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the first thing that's sort of, I'm like part owner on, so, or at least, half owner on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was super exciting. And being able to, always exciting to like do stories with characters I designed,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
kind of from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like really huge one, and especially like story. Like I never really contributed to, like I've worked on books before where I created the character and I drew it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's never like part of my story either. It was so this is a new thing for me. So this is new, like a creator owned thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be like, it's going to ruin me for other things, because like as soon as I'm able to do something that's my own,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be hard to go back to something that's not my own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
James,
new
mm-hmm.
because this is the first time I'm writing a comic book series.
Yes.
I've only really written short stories, and I wrote that graphic novel that we brought Zach in to do the coloring, and then that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So first time actually doing like a long form comic book thing that'll actually come out. So that's really fun to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So we've never done that, and it's also a first for like even for Monstrous, because we were always doing more horror stuff. So this is really the first sci-fi thing that we're doing,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and it's the first time we're doing floppies. We were always doing graphic novels and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I've never done a campaign like this where it's a single issue and that we'll have multiple campaigns now.
Mm-hmm.
This. So we might end up doing 5 campaigns. We might combine some issues and do just maybe not 2 or 3. So
Mm-hmm.
this is all kind of new too, and it's a different genre. Although I think the tone is basically, for me, it's like the same as like Dead Jack, which
Mm-hmm.
just more in a sci-fi way. But so that'd be interesting to see now, because the campaign is totally different, the structure wise, because we're not giving people. This is the first time I'm not giving people like the full book or full story. This is just
Yes. Mm-hmm.
chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Or if people be like, you only do horror, and then it's like, what's this? So far the
Yeah.
reception has been pretty good. I don't think people are that, kind of
Yeah.
segmented. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm only into horror. I'm not into this
Yeah.
documentary stuff. So I
I,
don't think that'll be an issue.
we haven't like written too far ahead, but other than just plot and outlines, but we can definitely throw horror in there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of public domain horror characters that can overlap with
Mm-hmm.
our book for sure. So I think it's gonna be a mishmash of genres when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. So I think it'll be interesting. So this is I think we're all doing this for the first time in this way. So it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out.
Wow. This sounds great. It really does. 2 more questions. James, I'm going to start off with you. Um, what is your next convention or store appearance for you know, any store
Uh,
appearances for signings in upcoming months?
I'll be at AuthorCon in Williamsburg, Virginia, and I think it's the middle of April.
Okay.
And that's a really cool convention. So it's really just authors, and it's just about books.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of books there. So I'll have everything. Well, Dead Detective Society right now isn't available.
Mm-hmm.
We never released it.
Mm-hmm.
After we delivered the books to the backers, but we haven't released it to the public. But I have issues, so that'll probably be the only way you can get copies of that
Mm-hmm.
anytime soon. Would be to go to AuthorCon, and then I'll be at StokerCon in San Diego
Oh,
in
okay.
June.
Mm-hmm.
And Unleash is on the preliminary list for the Stoker, so I'll
Oh.
find out in a week or two if it's nominated. I might not go if I'm not nominated, so screw you guys.
Yeah, because yeah.
But but yeah, that's in June. And then I think I'm doing a horror convention in Long Island at sometime in October.
That's gonna be pretty cool. Zach, what about you? Your next convention appearance or store appearance for autograph signings in the next few months?
Man, I'm usually somewhere for Free Comic Book Day, but I'm
Oh,
not sure where I'm going to be this year.
mhm,
I'll be at the next con's going to be Eclipse Con, which will be in uh, SIU, Carbondale,
mhm,
and that's going to be like the only one I really have on the books.
mhm,
I usually do all kinds of conventions every year, and I kind of
mhm,
been taking a break just to work on this book and some other things. But
mhm.
so I'll be around the. I'm in Illinois, so I'm usually hitting the Midwest cons.
Oh, okay.
So I even if I don't have anything scheduled yet, I pop in around the Iowa, Chicago,
Mhm.
and Wisconsin areas.
Final question, Zach. I'm going to start off with you and then James. Any closing words to our listeners?
Check out Omega 11 if you like Doctor Who, if you
Mhm.
like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, if you like heist movies, if you like sci-fi. It's definitely, and it's got a good slice of comedy too. So if you're into comic books, if you're into kind of just random craziness, be sure to check it out.
James, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. Back the Omega 11 Kickstarter. I think it'll be live, right, by the time
Yes.
this
Mhm,
comes out.
mhm,
But yeah, I mean, the first couple of days we'll have some early bird specials
mhm,
and stuff. So yeah, it's just that's like a really fun series. It's really fun to write, and it's really um I don't even know if we explored. We're gonna probably be going so far with this thing that the deeper we go, the more interesting I think it's gonna get because we're gonna have so many other characters thrown in there,
mhm.
and like I said, the 11 they don't really show up till a little bit later. So if those people maybe have some patience, I mean, the first issues are very cool,
Yes.
but we deal with some other stuff too, but like the origins of his ship
Mhm.
and things like that. So we have a lot of other stuff coming in
Mhm.
that series. So that's one of the things about doing it this way when you're doing it issue by issue. You
Yes.
do kind of have to keep people like engaged and interested throughout the whole series.
Uh-huh.
But I think once we get to all five issues, I think it's going to be really like an amazing series and just a ton of fun.
James and Zach, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian for your time. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to interview you. I wish you guys all the success on the Omega 11 campaign. Um, I want to thank Hannah Superfan Promotions for setting up this interview. Hannah, thank you very much. James and Zach, again, I'm going to say I love what you guys are going to be doing with this. And James, like you said, I love it how you just mentioned about the first issue. You guys are just going to focus on Dr. Omega and the Artful Dodger. But then also, too, what's going to be great, too, is that you're going to talk about Dr. Omega's ship, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Cosmos, correct?
Yeah.
And I think what's great is that you guys are going to slowly introduce characters as the series progress because you don't want to just cram it all in the first issue, and then by
Yeah,
issue 3 you have no idea. Okay, well, where do we go from here? You
yeah.
know, or
And you know, we issue 5 might not be, we'll see like where we're at issue 5. It's
Mhm.
just that's kind of a placeholder right now for like the story. I hope we can keep going like after issue 5, but
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
just kind of pacing ourselves. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to do 11 issues for Omega 11. Like I think that'd be cool, but like or like I'd like to uh go as to where we can have to the point where we have an acceptable
Mhm.
an ending that we're happy with,
Yes.
but we'll definitely try to wrap up an arc
Mhm.
uh for issue 5, but if it's popular, we'll keep going, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a huge world, so it
Yeah.
would be cool to do like, like what Alan Moore did with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he just
Mhm.
kept bringing in new characters and
Yes.
Yeah.
different eras and stuff like that. So obviously this can keep going on.
Mhm.
And I can say about taking it slow, that's what I love about those are my favorite movies are the ones with those team ups like the Dirty Dozen,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, samurais, like, oh, we got to put this team together. And then I love when they rounding up the team and it's like, or in like Inglorious Bastards, and then
Yes.
we get introduced to every character and then they have a story and then
Yes.
we learn about them and then they join the team and then we get the next guy. So I love that. And if we could have, we would have just could have done like 11 issues just for this series, right? And then introduced every character separately and he has an
Mhm.
issue. So that's like my favorite thing in the world. So that's why when Jack did bring this to me, I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly one of the things I've wanted to always write was one of those team up
Mhm.
stories. So yeah, I really want to like take the time with that, and I want to introduce different characters and not kind
Yes.
of
Mhm.
rush it. So I think that's what the really the fun part about these type of stories. Is like I want to know each character
Yeah.
and about them and their backstory and how they get
Mhm.
into the Omega 11.
So James and Zach, I'm gonna back this. It sounds
Oh,
great.
thank you.
It's gonna sound like it's gonna be fun. Um, yeah. So listeners, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader who loves sci-fi stories, please check out the Omega 11 issue number 1, the Merlin Job. This campaign is live and will end on March 7th. And if you love horror, please check out the second issue of Monstrous that will be featured in this campaign too as well. James and Zach, I'm being serious. Now, listeners, if you have a friend who loves science fiction stories or monster horror stories, like James said that this Monstrous issue is going to focus on time travel. Please consider backing this campaign and giving your friend um, you know um, this Kickstarter, as a birthday gift or a way to share your love of comics with others. So please consider that. I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics, Lake Country, Wisconsin's best pop culture destination for new comics, back issues, gaming, retro video games, vinyl, and figures. Give them a call, 262-569-9999. Check them out online at cowabungacomics.com or follow them on Twitter at Incredicow. They are our LCS, and we utilize their deep discount mail order service to bring Oconomowoc, Wisconsin closer to us. They'll take care of you. Tell them Drew and Kyle sent you. Say hi to Eric and James from us. If you need an LCS, you can't go wrong with Cowabunga Comics.